All right, it's broadcasting.
Hello, everybody. Stand by. We will be coming at you shortly.
Yes. Well, we have 0 viewers, so I think we're fine for now. Meanwhile,
Is it live or is it Memorex?
Indeed.
I'm in the witness protection program. I've got my silhouette. And he said, as a whistleblower.
What the live control room does. That's nice. Can I see comments? Cards. Ah, cool. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. All right, so I have that up. We don't have the YouTube thing. I'll just pull that up in the pull up there.
Not like
So we will have an extra. Oh, hey, fourth place. Fourth.
Hello.
Piece. Sorry.
A little bit of distortion. I can probably pull down my levels a little bit.
Same here a little bit. We are just
getting everything in
going.
place.
Exactly.
Hurdling those technical hurdles of misplaced laptops.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always a little complicated.
But, you know, roll with the punches, be flexible. And
yep.
Always travel with a towel.
Get better every time, right? Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, Fourth Piece. Like Evan said, we're still getting everything kind of worked up here. I don't know if we're going to be able to play the episodes while we're streaming because the audio is going to get caught by YouTube if we're showing an entire episode.
Okay.
So maybe we will need to head into the other room for a little while, just long enough to show that. What we can do,
since we can't show, maybe we could show
we'll show something else while we're waiting.
If you've already seen these, you can here's something else for you to watch. But if you haven't, join with us in your own copy-free zone and enjoy watching this where YouTube will not extract it.
Yes. So I'm going to pull up something a little different. So this is... that's good, actually. It'll be a decent size. Oops, that's Evangelion. I don't want to do that. That'll get pulled down.
That might send up some red flags.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
We don't want our folks in the industry to be too upset with us.
Exactly. So what I'm going to show instead is Momotaro's Divine Sea Warriors. This was the first full-length animated film made in Japan, released in 1945. And I'm going to show that. Can that camera zoom at all?
With the software.
Okay, yeah.
I could move it and tilt it and try and narrow in on the
yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll give that a try. And I know there's no audio to begin with. Let me just make sure we're getting. Okay, there we go. So I will go back to the beginning of the movie. And so we will be returning in a little bit once we've actually gotten everything set up. So just give us a bit. There we go. Hey, very nicely done. Why? Oh, okay, that makes sense. That's a light section. No, it's a double. It's not those two. It might be the chandelier.
Yeah, I think
because it's
chandelier.
Yeah.
Let's kill the chandelier.
All right. That's it. Cool. So, in fact, I'm going to say in the chat room, y'all will be back in a few minutes. Just need to finish.
Enjoy this copy-free. This unlicensed historical footage.
Exactly.
And I'm going to pull the microphones.
直れ、着帽。
お、なんだ、サンタじゃないか。さあ、兄さんが抱っこしてやろう。よーいしょっと。
なんか先輩なんだね。
そうじゃないよ。
じゃあ、14番じゃあ、1番ママが何も乗らないんだもん。
サンタ、ハイジの兵隊さんは軍艦のだけじゃないよ。もっと考えてごらん。
終わったなぁ。あ、わかった。飛行機でも僕洗濯ないな。すごいよ。
父さん、母さん、
あ、ワン吉。
ワン吉、よく帰ってきたね。
春吉兄さん、最後の話してよ。
ああ、するからごめんだ。僕、飛行機の方がいいな。ブーン、ブーン、ブーン。それじゃあ始めよう。航空隊に入隊して一番嬉しいことは、初めて飛行機に乗るとき、すなわち単独飛行を許されたときだな。自分で操縦して大空を我が物顔に飛び回るんだ。遥か目の下には山や川がちょうど箱庭のように流れる。 どんなものでもどんどん追い越していく。すごいすごい速度で。ブルーンブルーンブルーンブルーンと。
汽車よりも速いバカ言ってない。汽車なんか言ってください。
うん。車なんか前でノロノロした神さんのようなもんだな。とにかくお前たちにも乗せてやりたいよ。理解だよ。
あたいでも乗れるかい？
誰にでも訓練次第でわけはないさ。単独飛行が済むといよいよ戦闘訓練だ。ツバメのような軽快な戦闘機に乗り込み、艦銃を持ってダダダダダダシューンドンドン横転反転車目
おい、大変だ大変だ。サンタ君、川へ落ちたよ。
お 僕は30分前全落弾付け効果よーい効果
いや立派な人が出たこりゃ不思議じゃな不思議じゃな驚き桃の木山椒の木おいらによく似た顔だわいほんにほんになんだかちょっと似てるほんにほんにさ本当になんじゃろ本当になんじゃろ断然わしはありゃバナナだと思っておるねいやいやさろうと選んでおるねうまいタバコとはしゃ決めとるよ食べさてなんだかわからんまいお腹がすいては戦はできぬ元気も出ないバナナはいかがですメロンはどうです召し上がれ
はい
暑い。
いよいよ我々の待ちに待った作戦は明朝を期して火蓋を切ることになった。皆もすでに覚悟はできていることと思う。我が海軍落下三部隊の長い間秘密のうちに黙々と鍛えた訓練の成果を初めて表す時が来た。お前たちはこの長い間両親や兄弟にも訓練のことは語ることもできず苦しいことであったと思う。明日こそ我々は最後の一兵となるまで敵陣に突撃するのだ。皆覚悟はできているか？はい。よし、今夜は我々の最後の夜となった攻撃隊出発はよし以上。
青く果てしなく続く南の海。ヤシの木で囲まれた小さな島々が星空のように散らばっている。その真ん中に一つ、夢のような美しい島があった。その昔、この島は5羽の王様が治めておられた。島の人々は優しいこの王様のもとに毎日を楽しく暮らしていた。ある日、この島の港へ不思議な黒い船が姿を現した。島はたちまち上を下への大騒ぎとなった。大臣は慌てふためき、事の次第を王様へ言上した。船から上陸して宮殿へ飛行したのは、鼻の尖った白人である。お情け深い5羽の王様。私たちは遠い国からはるばる参った商人でございます。このお国の人々とどうか仲良く兄弟のように付き合っていただきたいのです。つきましては、我々は毎日船へ帰るのも大変ゆえ、この島のどこかに私たちの休息できる土地をお譲り願いたいのでございますが、いかがでしょう。私たちの船には世界各地の宝物がぎっしり積み込んでございます。まず、ペルシャの絨毯、エジプトのタバコ、インドの宝石、シャムの首飾り、安南カンボチャのサラサ、シナ関東の茶、同じく北京の黄金、そして羊毛、砂金。これだけの宝物を陸揚げして王様にご覧に入れたいのでございますが、それにはどうしても並べる土地が必要でございます。なに、その広さは1000廊下ほどの大きさがあれば十分でございます。早速ご承知くださいましてありがとう存じます。お情け深い5羽の王様。大臣よりの中心に驚かれた王様が約束が違うではないかと船長に掛け合うと、いや、ごもっともでございます。王様は我が国の商法をご存じないのですな。これが我が国のしきたりです。 5羽の王様は最後までよく戦った。しかしついには敗れ、この美しい島も海賊の手にかすめ取られた。千個不悦を入れざるジャングルに古き石像あり。刻みて曰く。月明明るき夜、東方天使の国より白馬にまたがりたる神の兵器たりて、必ずや民族を解放せん。
And we're back. There we go. Excellent. Yeah, if you could change it, that would be awesome. Our expensive dolly shot there. All right. So, welcome back, everyone. Hey, Night Sabers. Hey, Liquid Snake. Sorry for that long delay. That was my mistake, actually. We got the wrong time on when we would be doing this. So, had to come in here and watch some stuff for the show. So sorry about that. But we're back and we're ready to talk. So let me see how we're doing. 9 viewers, awesome. All right, let's pull back up our video. Cool. And I'll jump forward to the episode we're going to talk about today. There we go. Yeah. So we're just getting everything set up. Thanks, Fourth Piece.
Oh, way over here, I don't see the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I'll move a little closer.
I'll also increase the chat size a little bit so we can actually read it a little better. All right, so let me see if I can get the audio working.
Greetings, everybody.
Yes. That's weird. My audio is not working as expected. So now we're going to go to that's not it. I wanted to play our theme song.
Smoke and Mirrors theme song.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna have to go to it right here.
Let's see. Let me see if. Oh, hey, there it is.
Yeah. So welcome everyone to episode 3 already of Smoke and Mirrors.
Smoke and Mirrors.
Exactly. So we're watching Tenchi OVA 1 and Yamada's First Time, episode 3 of each. And we will be talking about that and discussing that here momentarily. So we just finished watching both of those. And so let's go over and show a bit of Tenchi Muyo. So where were we plot-wise with Tenchi Muyo from last time?
Well, let's see. We had left off. The house had been relocated.
Yes.
And the spaceships had been pretty much destroyed.
Yep.
And I believe he had 2 stones left in the...
I think so, yeah.
In the sword handle.
Yeah.
And
he gave her back 1. And
gave her back
third.
1.
2, 3.
And what did she do with that?
I think she used that to reactivate the ship, which then blew up.
That makes sense.
So we come back. We had the alien girls are all back with Tenchi, and now he's and it's now we cut back to this interesting little sequence actually.
Because you went out, leaving me behind.
With obviously a much younger Ayeka there.
One day, I will be a bride. Won't I, you sure?
When you grow up.
Whoa. We'll do that again.
Royal teardrop.
Royal teardrop.
Yes. Let me Let me expand that a bit so you guys can see better.
This flower shouldn't be used for happy occasions. You devil!
Take me with you! Yosho, take me with you! Yosho! Where are you? Yosho? Yosho? Yosho?
Oh,
No.
Yosho. But he's dead.
What?
Here, take this to remember him by.
Hmm.
just a dream.
Just a dream. Good example, actually, of an anime dream sequence, or a dream sequence, I think, in general, where it is, there is that kind of that dream logic.
The dissolve between, is this really somebody? Oh, no, it's somebody else. But it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, and kind of that jumble of memory and imagery and all these things.
Future and past and
Mhm.
all kind of blending together.
Yeah, very associative of thought to thought to thought to thought, as opposed to moving linearly.
And the dissolving of the handle into, whoa.
Yeah, very strange. One of the neat things about this episode, actually, that I wanted to talk about was the general. Actually, it's a little further than I wanted to go. Is in general the yeah.
I love all the expressions there.
They have a lot of fun with that. But a lot more naturalistic animation in this episode than we've seen up to this point. Tenchi does tend to be somewhat more naturalistic in its animation than most anime series.
She goes from dignified to undignified in a split second, and then right back.
Dirty little thing.
Meow.
Very well. I want you to stay right there, and I'll be the one to go away. Huh. Now, don't you dare follow me.
I just love the little movements there, and the little, how she's holding herself up very, very, very rigidly, sort of pointing backwards.
Now that's the egg has hatched, and this is a
Yes.
spaceship.
Correct. That is Ryo-Oki, Ryoko's spaceship,
Don't follow me.
which is now taking the form of a cabot.
A cabot.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a cheese? A cat rabbit.
Exactly.
We see the teardrop.
Yes. So the clues start piling up in this episode about the past and what's going on.
The same color as your eyes. One day I'll be a bride, won't I?
I agree with you, Liquid Snake. The best part of this is not having to wait, 3 months for the release of the next episode. The bad old days of anime fandom.
Leave me alone.
But even here, when we switch to seeing Tenchi fighting the unicorn OVA, yeah. You see how kind of naturalistic this animation is.
Yeah.
He's jumping around as obviously a little more than a standard human.
Ouch. The wooden sword.
Oh, yeah. And his little wooden bits would have been, painful.
Let's start over with the basic patterns.
Okay.
Ready?
That's
Sparring.
Mm-hmm.
that's just like
Something
the sword play routines of Jiraiya's royal family.
very familiar.
Sure. Maybe a clue to his whereabouts. Tenchi!
Dignified to wacky. In 0 seconds flat.
Exactly.
What was that?
Why must
Scramble,
I suffer
scramble.
this kind of disgrace?
What are you doing down there?
Yeah, it's a much more quiet episode this time than we've seen before. Much more sort of personal interaction back and forth.
Developing the story.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the matter?
I was mentioning when we were watching it, there's a sequence here that is animated entirely by one guy. I think his name is Moriyama,
Here, you can
who
enjoy yourself
was
with
working on
this.
Tenchi OVA.
It was fascinating to see all the detail in there.
Yeah. It's very rare for one animator. Well, I say it's very rare. It's unusual for one animator to work on an entire sequence, multiple shots, back to back to back. You might have one animator working on one shot
Yes.
every single frame to get all the detail in there. But it's rare for them to get a scene.
So does that provide more of a consistency?
It does. It also allows that animator to work to their strengths. So if an animator is great at, so in this case, you get somebody who is focused on detail, focused on the colors. Obviously, somebody else will color that, but he's paying attention to where all those colors are going to lie on the figure.
All the shadows, all the folds,
Right.
all the lighting,
Exactly.
especially lighting from a source inside the room.
Yeah, totally. There's another animator that's well known for animating sort of in 3 dimensions, being very aware of characters in relation to each other. He actually worked on a later Tenchi movie, and there's an amazing shot where I can actually show it kind of, where one character is laying down and has his arm out, and another girl moves her fingers down his arm, and you can see all where her fingers would indent in and come out over the muscles into all those things, and it's ink and paint. I mean, there's no shadows on it. He's aware of exactly where all that would go.
Wow.
So just some people are good at that, some people are good at other things. So he was brought in to make this work just right.
Lady Ayaka.
Ayaka does get a lot. Oh, poor thing.
Right into his arms.
Right. Actually, I wanted to point out something here too. Watch the water come off of her. Oh, yeah. There's a little bit of
Yeah.
coming off of her. Just that to remind you.
That attention to detail makes it so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. And again, kind of that story reminding you she's wet, she's cold, she's unhappy. It's definitely interesting.
One thing that I thought was kind of strange was, here they are in wet clothes and she runs into his arms and all he can say is,
I'm going back outside.
Oh.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
there was a beautiful girl in your arms, barely dressed.
And it is interesting seeing that that attempt to be proper in this, where he's obviously trying to be very hands offish. I'm cool. You're
I've
cool.
ruined your guys' spaceships.
And everyone's just kind of unsure what's going to happen next. And so he's trying to be very polite.
It's not.
This is actually where, I mean, up until this point, we've seen obviously Ryoko as a more obvious character, as kind of a match for Tenchi. But this is where you start really appreciating Ayaka as a character, kind of seeing where she's coming.
Definitely draws some more empathy.
Yeah. Yeah, she's not quite as difficult as she at first appears.
They saved.
The trip to the holy tree of
Yes.
is it Mishaki?
It's the Masaki Shrine.
Masaki
Yeah,
Shrine.
yeah.
That is one big tree.
That is one very big tree. Well, it crashed 700 years ago, so it's been a long time
I
growing.
guess one big spaceship tree.
Yeah, right, exactly. Another good example of wacky anime technology. It just sort of gives you cool visuals.
Whoa, what's happening? Everything.
Shapes memory.
I found this to be an interesting narrative device to
Yeah.
fill in some of the story.
Mm-hmm.
They come to the tree,
Yeah.
and it builds the depth of, well, here's some backstory.
Yeah.
This is how we explain it, and it's the memory of the ship that
Yeah.
has elicited this visual.
Yeah. It's also very smart from a storytelling perspective. Instead of having somebody
And he must
Um,
be Yosho.
sit on screen and tell you, well, this happened, X years ago, they show it to you. So you're actually seeing what happened. So many animation and live action
This must
spend so
be
much time
how
on
the
dialogue.
laser's made.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. That's pretty creepy.
There's the third.
Yep.
Well, now after that, where did she go?
Mm.
I'm sure
The cave.
since Vanilla was
Yeah, that's when she was locked away, presumably.
He must be alive also. Her eyes were
So without any stones.
Right, right. No power.
Okay. My, what a friendly atmosphere.
Now, there's been this thing recently about the idea of moe, which is the super cute character that's just there for you to appreciate and sort of fall in love with and so forth. People have been decrying this as being a recent phenomenon. I claim, I have a hard time looking at Sasami or Ryoki as not incredibly cute characters that are there to make you just
Now, Tenchi.
The Moe relief.
how come
yeah,
you've been a
absolutely
lady girl all this time.
Because I
great
had
little
to.
characters.
Lady Aika injured herself.
Wow, Tenchi.
Blood.
No.
Actually, something else I just wanted to point out here too. Watch how Sasami moves in this shot.
Now, Tenchi.
Yep,
how
she
come
turns
you've been
around,
this unworthy
looks up,
girl all this time.
Because I had to. Lady Aika injured herself.
Wow,
and then she looks
Tenchi,
down.
you got the sword back. Well done,
and looks
my
back up.
boy.
No. I returned the sword.
But that's careful animation. It's paying attention to where the characters would be actually looking
Direct
the
their
scene.
eyes. What are they looking at?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would they look there?
Mm.
Well, there's a motivation.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're pissed we got it back, and you know you was trying to lie to me.
But it's true.
We are related by blood, Lord Tenchi and I. And anyway, it's really none of your business.
Is that right? You ingrate.
To help us. That, Oh.
And
Lord Tenchi.
Lord Tenchi.
He's
now.
referred to as Lord Tenchi.
Yes.
So
indeed.
that's sort of a turning point there.
Absolutely.
Come now.
It's funny. Earlier on, everybody calls the older guy Grandpa, regardless of their relationship to him.
Mm-hmm.
Grandpa. Wait a second, you guys are aliens.
Yeah.
You're calling him Grandpa.
And that gets into a lot of the difficulties with translation because you have words that translate to sort of honored old person, but we just don't have a word for that. So how do you translate that? How do you translate the various
Grandpa.
Right, exactly.
Aged one.
Well, yeah. There's a later character that likes calling herself with the diminutive suffix of chan, which you normally use for little girls. But we don't have that word. So they just call her little whatever. Okay, that works.
Add ETT on the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there we go.
Suzette.
Absolutely. So any other thoughts on this episode?
Let's see. A spaceship. The idea that a spaceship is grown from an egg just blows my mind.
It's one of the unusual things about this OVA, actually, I think, is that very alien technology. It's not just spaceships in the sense of an upgraded version of an Apollo rocket. It's very different thinking as to how you would do technology. Which I think that also again gets into how anime is a very different medium. And one of the reasons a lot of times we like it is because it throws very unusual stuff at us.
It's funny how Sisame was acting very mature.
Yes.
In the beginning, and Ayaka was just sort of She was more in her emotional state,
Yes.
and not prepared to take on the responsibilities of taking on the world and dealing with the situations at hand, and
she's
processing everything emotionally.
Exactly. Yeah, Sasami seems like a much more centered young girl, if you will. Let's see if we can get back to that moment where they're just waking up. It's a lot of fun.
The egg.
Oh,
there we go.
Sasami. But the head of the family is out now, isn't he? The father may be out, but I can tell you this. Tenchi is at home. This is very, very hard on me. I'm sorry, Sasami. I should be the one to worry about these things. Let's go.
There was an interview done sometime after Tenchi had really been going, and they interviewed Sasami's voice actor, Ryoko's voice actor, and Ayeka's voice actor. And they said the weirdest thing about the interview is that Ayeka's voice actor would start ribbing Ryoko's voice actor, and Ryoko would start ribbing Ayeka and about how, this vulgar space pirate, this haughty princess. And Sasami's voice actor would just go, well, and she would just just continue, whatever, So yeah, pretty much. But then again, back to that earlier point, she is this much more stable character, but then this childlike curiosity comes in very quickly.
Isn't it adorable?
Did you lay it?
Did you lay it? And that's a great point. I mean, these are aliens,
right?
For all
exactly.
Who knows how they reproduce?
Exactly. Exactly like with snakes. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. So interesting episode. Certainly the plot thickens, I think, even further. So any other thoughts on the episode?
Fourth piece mentioned budding. I think I've also heard that term as the moe concept.
Yeah. Well, and the term moe has evolved a lot. So it's kind of like otaku. There are different definitions depending on who you ask,
and it carries different definition and emotional, intellectual understanding and baggage with it, depending upon what context it's used in and with what groups it's used with.
Yeah.
So it can be used as a term of pride or as a term of derision.
Exactly.
Depending on who's using it and how. It's quite a wieldy sword.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It's very, very interesting. And yes, seeing it as that idea of being very passionate about a character, that is a thing. Yeah, so there's really no definition. It's also it's a term that came out of fans kind of needing something to use for that thing. So a word gets applied, but like so much language, it's kind of
it grows.
It grows. Speaking of growing, the other show we were talking about and looking at was Yamada's First Time. And I should need to be in the right place to pull that one up.
Yamada.
There we go.
Yamada.
And so this, oops, wrong place. There we go. So oh wow, I'm not even, that's...
It's kind of funny, the opening... is the Japanese song, but with the English subtitles when we were watching.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing, because a lot of these you have the option of choosing between subs and dubs.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious what most people prefer. I like to see all of them, but sometimes it's interesting that the subs and the dubs may not necessarily match.
Right.
One being done with a completely different translation. And is that part of the production process?
So typically the way it works, as far as I understand, is they will start with a sort of what they call a straight translation of the animation, which is just someone listening to the characters and writing down what they say. Obviously, there is adaptation of that to English because they're words have certain definitions and things like that. So it's there's a lot of trying to understand what the meaning of the words is and what's intended in the words. So, for example, there are very few curse words in Japanese. But if a character is speaking a certain way, you'll often want to pepper that with curse words because that's how they would sound in English. So they'll start with that, and then someone who works on ADR will come in and produce what's called the ADR script, and that is the that matched to lip flap, matched to character, and more carefully attuned to what's actually going on. Of course, you know ADR as well as anyone.
What? The meltdown. Childhood friend.
Indeed. But this was actually an interesting episode in a couple of different ways. One actually particularly was this. How the little girl is saved.
Oh. Good boy.
She's so Yep.
Her prince has come, and it's his sister.
Yep. Yeah, and it doesn't quite go where she thought she was. But what's interesting about that too is that whole aspect of dealing with that question of being attracted to somebody and not really realizing who they are, what they are in that case, and how that affects you. You're growing up and your views of things. I think it's the first time we've seen a character that may or may not have been attracted to someone of the same sex in this particular show. It's certainly a funny way of doing it. So this was the episode introducing the school festival.
School festival. A recurring theme in anime.
Certainly. I suspect it's one of those things that is a lot less fun in real life, but it provides a very convenient excuse for things. I'm going to skip over
her imagination is of what happens. She has her imagination rocks. She just takes anything and runs with it in her mind and plays it out in the most extreme forms. Such an imagination. It's very entertaining. Now, I was musing over this B and H that they use, and I'm wondering if what our viewers thought of this B and H.
Yeah,
in the opening.
B gotta HK.
B gotta HK
is the original
BH.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we have some theories about what that might mean.
A crush on your sister. Friend's sister. Surprise. Oh. There's a certain age where that ambiguity is easier to occur.
Yeah.
And early on is
definitely that can happen. But there's actually an anime series called Horo Musuko, The Wandering Son, that deals very directly with that of kids who are just entering middle school and just starting to get that whole thing of I'm suddenly starting to notice certain things about my, these friends and so forth. And it definitely does change relationships. Wow, that's expensive. Zero ass.
Wow.
Buying the Japanese DVDs. That's hardcore. Good for you. Wow. Too rich for my blood.
That's awesome.
It's great stuff.
So B and H, I was musing about this.
Yeah.
And I was thinking there's a lot of focus on blood type indicating a person's personality in Japan. And I was kind of playing around with the idea, well, maybe that B is her blood type.
Okay, yeah.
And H because she wants to have 100 guys. That's got to be hentai. But then I'm looking at the opening, and there's an A, B, C, and
yeah, B down there.
And I love those wings in the tail.
F cup. There we go. Yeah,
that makes sense. F cup. See? Oh,
well, could be. Yeah.
A,
definitely.
Oh, there's more and more girls piling up there. I love you. Maybe, baby.
Exactly. But yeah, there's that, but then there's also a little later on we get a little something. See if I can jump here.
The dark room.
The dark room.
Dark room.
She finally gets a little bit of it. It's a little something.
There's the B.
There it is.
B.
Yeah.
So is that what's that B stand for when she gets her breast touch?
I wonder.
Or is that a base? Or is that a sequence?
Could be.
A, B, C?
Yeah. Well, because later on she's talking about what she needs to do to go further.
And her friend.
Yeah.
her friend kind of says she's got it out of order.
Yeah.
And we see B, A, C.
Yeah. Which I think is somewhere in this sequence here.
That was funny.
Let me see here. Yeah, she wants to get a kiss from him. I think I've gone too far.
It's funny how she comes up with all these plots. Not only does she have a crazy imagination.
Yes.
And she takes things to extremes, but then she comes up with these great schemes, and she's so enthusiastic about it. And for example, she's thinking through the photography is and then the idea of the dark room.
Yeah,
she's plotting her plan, but then starting out all enthusiastic, suddenly she gets cold feet.
She does.
She knows she wants it, but then when she gets right up to it, I think that was. Here she goes. She's moving forward with her plan. That poor guy.
I'm calm. I'm collected. Let's do this.
She's going for it.
Yeah.
Calm down. I gotta get out of my head. Yamada did not come here just to satisfy my dirty mind.
Yeah, she did.
Yes, she did.
Very forward.
Here I come. What sort of fate awaits our dear hero Kosada?
I love the snake.
Oh,
yeah.
She suddenly changed.
She sure did.
I am alone in the dark room with the prettiest girl in school, though.
What are you scared of now? Do you have any idea how long it took me to get ready for this moment?
Oh.
No holding back. I'm going all the way.
She overcomes it.
Yes.
And she goes forward. The wolf.
Riding Hood.
Someone's here. Is anyone in there? It's Kosada. Please don't open the door. I'm developing some pictures.
Good cover.
Yep.
Well, how's it going with you? Just forgot something.
I love how he's just completely oblivious.
What's happening? I feel like I'm caught in an affair.
I'm gonna turn on the light really quick. I can't see anything. The light switch is.
How can I screw this up again? Please.
I love that part. I'm thinking.
I thought this was going to be the most perfect plan, like ever. Maybe it's not in the cards for us. Maybe Kosada and I are fated never to have sex.
Now she goes the other direction.
I never know his touch.
Whoop.
Yep.
What's this?
It's happened. It's happening.
Without it,
There's bee.
a bee. The flying bee behind him. Ah. So warm and squishy. How could he not know what that is?
I know.
Man, make sure you lock the room when you leave, okay? Okay, cool. Well, that was a close one.
He didn't even notice.
Yeah.
She's like, back on.
Where are you going?
And I just noticed that all she was able to do, and one of the reasons she ran off at that point, all she was able to do was get her sweater back on over her shirt. She couldn't even button
She
it.
didn't even button it. She got out of there quick.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, this is, he's going to notice. He's going to notice real quick.
Right there.
Yeah.
She doesn't even. Out.
And it's funny, 'cause, I mean, all she's trying to do really is grab him. It'll take 2 seconds. And even that is just too much.
But she doesn't give up.
No, she doesn't give up. She keeps on going. Now, of course, we're getting to the point here in this series where the budget is going to start lowering a little bit because the first episode or two, you really want to get in the audience. But you have to eventually settle down into a certain animation rhythm. And
come out of the gate strong, get your viewers. Once
exactly.
they enjoy the story enough to follow it, where do they cut back usually when this occurs?
So they'll usually cut back on, it depends on the show. It depends on what they're trying to do. So for an action series, generally your conversational scenes will get very, very simple. But they'll try to keep those action scenes, fairly well animated.
Right. I just think of the joke in Fooly Cooly FLCL where suddenly they go to a manga style.
Yeah.
It's all blocky, no color.
It happens. But here's a good example of where, of course, this is a completely still shot.
Just panning across.
And I cut back to the previous shot. Again, just a single image moving there. And then a little movement, little animation. Very important animation.
So animators are looking at different layers of...
Yeah, they're looking
this was funny. the games there, arrow games. So what are those arrow games? Those are choose your own adventure style.
Yes.
Story.
Yeah, pretty much. So there'll be simple stories where you'll have a kind of similar shot to this. You'll have a background, and then a character will appear on the foreground, and you get lines of dialogue spoken to you. And then those will continue for a certain length of time. Usually there's a protagonist who is kind of off screen. It's you, if you will, it's a player, who is in some situation, usually a high schooler, who's had to go to high school with a lot of beautiful girls, poor guy. And eventually at some point you get a choice as to how you respond to a situation. And so it's usually a different line of dialogue. It might be you decide to walk home with a girl, or you decide not to, or things, whatever. And as time goes on, you get to decide, or your actions determine which of the girls you basically choose as your girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
Now that's the standard thing. There are lots of different kinds of stories. There's science fiction and fantasy and all sorts of different genres. But the most common one, or certainly the most stereotypically common one, is that kind of dating sim, if you will.
A dating sim.
Dating simulation, yeah.
Are those must be are those more popular, of course, in Japan? But
very much so.
Are those growing in popularity in the U.S. or
they do seem to be? I've done some panels, and there's certainly a very small aspect of fandom, but more and more people know what they are, and
seeing the reference in
exactly,
anime.
Yeah, and there are more and more of them being translated. One of the problems is because there's so much more dialogue. There's a lot more effort goes into translation. Fortunately, because the games themselves are so simple, there's not a lot of recoding you have to do. So it's basically just a matter of translation. But
the subtlety of a word could make a big difference in the story plot.
Exactly, yeah. And then you have the difficulty that a lot of these shows are, a lot of these visual novels were very important. Were very big deals in Japan. So you want to do them correctly.
This is weird. The only thing I can think about are coasted. Hey, Yamada, what's wrong? You sick?
And back to that one.
So, you won't understand what I'm going through. Yeah, I don't ever understand.
So actually, this scene is a good example again of that simplistic animation where you may cut around to characters frequently, but this is a single shot, just lip flap of a character talking. You can just lip flap here of somebody, Yamada sitting there.
Almost everything's static except for a few parts that move.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She moves a little bit. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, here's your BA and C.
We'll take what we can get.
Everyone's staring.
That's right. I'm in the photography club. Oh, good. We'll leave that to you then.
Their teacher doesn't know
Completely
who
wrong.
he is. Or is that their class rep?
Probably class rep. Yeah. She's certainly chosen the most average guy.
Yeah, he's not even known in his class.
And sequences like this are typically very hard to represent in anime, where you have lots of different characters moving around. It's a high activity sequence. So how do you do that without having characters move around all the time? And one way you do that is with either choosing moments where characters are not moving around a lot, or by representing action. So here again, characters are in action, if you will. They're in movement, but they're not actually moving, which gives you that sense.
So one large picture, but you just pan across it, and it represents the motion of these people would have.
Right, exactly.
If you were walking down the hall past them, they're all doing their thing.
Yeah. There's a great dialogue about this online a while back where they said basically a lot of American animation fans look down on that. And Japanese fans respond back and say, well, but does it serve the story to show all that movement? Is all that animation actually helping anything, as opposed to finding a visual representation of it that at least gets it across?
That's a good point. Yeah, I think with a limited budget, I'd rather want to have more in the story.
Yeah,
and less detail of something that's peripheral.
Right.
But if I had an unlimited budget, like American animation, I say that tongue in cheek,
but yeah, no, it's exactly true. There's only so much you can do, and so you have to kind of pick your battles.
Fireworks for everything.
It's true. Yeah, I was mentioning earlier how often fireworks are used just to commemorate an event. Fire a few fireworks up there.
It's interesting there, the Japanese concept of horror and scariness. You see some of the typical characters.
Yeah, I know that is a famous Japanese ghost character. I forget who it is though. I'm sure someone will tell us who, but that's definitely a reference to something. Actually, there's a fun reference a little later on in the show to another anime series. I think it's to another anime series. Yeah,
all the guys, she feels their energy.
Yeah, Yamada definitely has a bit of a bit of a complex going on there.
The votes are still being counted. I'm still there. Be the it girl for much longer.
So where's the guy who shows up? I'm gonna. Am I skipping it? There he is.
It's a dead heat between Yamada and Kanajo.
Kanajo.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Kanajo.
Who we saw in the opening credit sequence. Yeah. So I'm kind of suspicious of that.
I think she might be joining.
She might be. So I believe this character is a reference to a character from Kodomo no Omocha, Child's Toy. Kodocha, which has this buck teeth, glasses wearing, very absurd costumed character who has this very similar accent. So I think this is a callback to that show. It was pretty popular in its day, late 90s. In fact, this might be the same voice actor who, there he is. Might be the same voice actor who voiced him in the English dub of the series. But it's neat seeing those little characters that may or may not be a back reference, but it's clearly,
homage.
Exactly. Who knows? It is funny though how the show does deal with that whole aspect you were talking about earlier of Yamada has all these huge plans that backfire.
And her confidence comes and goes. She's got it. It's the moment. Waffle and not fault, but
yeah. And here's a good example of that, where she, she's trying to prove how popular she is, so that Kosudo will get jealous, and he just gets depressed by how popular she is.
Yeah. he kind of has his own set of internal issues too that are amusing, because, like the typical guy, he doesn't know how to interpret the information that he's being presented, and there's so much more going on that he's not aware of.
Yeah,
and so sometimes he comes at it with a self-defeatist attitude. Oh, she has no interest, or but sometimes he gets it, and so, or despite his self-defeating self-talk, he'll go for it.
Yeah,
like when they decide, oh, I'm gonna go dance with her. I don't care. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, he definitely has that desire. And it's interesting seeing how so often you'd see this from the guy's perspective. You'd have the guy pursuing the girl, and you'd see all of his sort of inner thoughts. And here you're seeing all the girl's inner thoughts reflected back on the guy, and him trying to figure out what her signals.
It's a beautiful dance.
Not one bit.
Yeah, I think trying to figure out how the voting system works, considering the fact they have a giant screen with like animated images of each girl's head above, I think there's a lot more going on there.
That is one high-tech school fair system.
Yeah,
I love spark catching.
Probably. If we can have hammer space to just pull things out of, we can have that.
You'll have to get in line first.
It's gonna be a long wait.
And he waits for the entire line, and then the song.
Yeah.
Here comes their song, but it ends. But they still dance.
Exactly.
He's got an A over his head there.
He does.
And she's chasing the B.
Yeah.
And there's the C.
Interesting.
So if we were following that sequence, H would be way down there.
It would. Yeah, absolutely.
What is that, like retired with your grandchildren?
Probably, yeah.
The H in the sky.
Yeah.
Now you were noticing some of the photographs in the end.
Yeah, I think, one of the photographs there was one of the photographs he took in this episode. So I think what they're doing with the photographs in here is showing some of his own photography. And clearly there's a lot of, oh my gosh, there's a magical girl. I just noticed that. That's very interesting.
My goodness.
I wonder what's going on with the little angel thing.
Who could she be?
Interesting.
Is that foreshadowing of coming events?
No, could well be. Interesting. And that is the childhood friend, isn't it? It looks like it.
I think so.
Yeah.
She has. Maybe she has some help breaking out of her ambiguous approach to.
Could well be
her stunted growth. And that's not the physical growth.
No, certainly not.
She's got that.
The
photos.
Yeah.
Was that Fuji?
I think that was. Let's see if we can pause on that one.
I hear it. It's very different each time you see it.
That's what they say. Yeah, that's what they say.
Beautiful shots.
Osaka Castle, I think. It looks like Fuji.
Wow.
Yeah.
Someday, everybody join us. We will climb to the top of Mount Fuji.
Absolutely. And then we'll die from overexposure and from
noseblood. Noseblood is an interesting concept. That's another one of those anime shorthands for sort of a lust. That would be a good calibration system.
It would.
How many nosebleeds have we got? Okay, run her up higher.
That's gonna be a popular one. A pretty large cast for a short series like this too.
Yeah,
kind of interesting. Do we have any other thoughts on this one?
Well, I'm kind of wondering. Do we have in the credits who the voice actress is doing the English dub for?
Let's see here. I'm sure it was in here. It was probably earlier on. Let's see here. Yeah, there's English version.
Justin.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and lower down the audio on that because it gets a little bit repetitive. Nothing wrong with that. There we go. Brittany Karbowski as Yamada.
She does a great job. I
She
mean,
really does.
getting all the the differences, the subtleties of excitement, and then
Yeah, there's a lot to her character in the sense that she has to be funny, she has to be serious, she has to be over the top, but she also has to have that kind of standoffish behavior in real life. So it's quite difficult.
So now I think I heard somewhere Funimation licensed this at some point, and it wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, this is the Funimation copy, and I got it I think last year.
Yeah,
if I recall. It may come out earlier than that.
I wonder how long it takes them from when they license it to when they get it out on the market.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly depends. I mean, I've heard it's certainly in the months time frame. A lot of the delays when it's more than that has more to do with licensing all the bits and pieces. There's often stuff you're trying to get from the Japanese companies, stuff you're trying to license or do. I remember one representative at an anime company saying one of the problems is, 20 years ago you'd say, "We've licensed show X, yay!" Now you say we licensed show X, and somebody says, "Well, did you license the Christmas special from 1995 that it was aired once on television? Have you licensed this? Well, we're working on it." Boo. So there's an expectation of a bit more now than there used to be.
Add into that distribution in international markets and license for this market, not for that market.
Right. And then
internet streaming or just DVD release.
Totally.
Where does that go into merchandising in an English speaking country?
Yeah, and that's a big thing because as I understand it, well, I mean, who knows, but generally speaking, if you want those merchandising rights, then you got to deal with other characters merchandising or other companies merchandising rights and what you're willing to what you're willing to pay and what you think you can actually sell. That's one of the big issues is that if I license this show, for example, what relationships do I have with manufacturing companies and toy companies and so forth that I can actually do because I have to bid on that licensing fee. I have to go back and say, I want to make these things or I want to have the ability to do these sorts of toys or other merchandise. So, you don't want to pay for very wide rights when you can't sell or make any of those things. So yeah, it's complicated, certainly. Cool. Anything else on this episode? I think that kind of covered most of what I had.
I think, yeah. Let's see. The cafe, the camera. Crap! I said what I meant. That line.
I wrote that down too.
That line was a riot. How many times has a guy been out with a girl and he's thinking, okay, I've got this thought in my head. And I should probably not say it. And then another thought comes and he's thinking, okay, I'll be tactful and say what's right. And then suddenly he's blindsided with just blurting out what he really thinks or says. And it's an, oh no. That is brilliant.
Oh, you do that thing where you think, okay, I'm not going to say that. It's been 5 minutes since I've said anything.
I've got to say something. I'm going to say that.
Yeah. That's a good question, Liquid Snake. Since Yamada has a save edition now, it probably wasn't a huge success in terms of the original release.
Oh wow, a save edition.
Yeah. But to your point, I don't know, how that works. I think a lot of it has to do with the question of just what kind of market those are going to have. If the idea was that the original release, and Yamada might be a good example of this, where perhaps this is not the kind of show that people are going to be willing to spend that kind of money on, but at a $20 price point, you're going to get a much bigger response. Same thing with like Lane and a lot of the other shows where certainly still popular, but people weren't going to be buying it at $80 for the entire show.
I'm kind of torn on the idea of save editions.
Yeah.
Now, I love Funimation distributing save editions because I can afford an anime that I would probably not otherwise watch as easily.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, if I fall in love with this anime, I want the box set. I want, whatever gift they've got bundled with it, the coin from Spice and Wolf or a T-shirt or the, an extra book or something. Yeah. And so after I bought it, that's kind of, I've already vested myself. I suppose I could turn around and give it as a gift or something.
Sure.
But the save editions are great, and I'm glad to know that they've got that out there. How long do they usually wait before they do a save? They don't do direct to save, do they?
Not that I've seen. It varies a lot. I've seen some jump to save pretty quickly. I've seen some that wait a long time, and then there's some that are kind of rescues where again they'll go back and get a show that was successful 10, 15 years ago into a save edition just so it's still in print. Lane was a good example of that, where in fact
Serial Experiments Lane.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful series.
Adam Sheehan is a huge fan of that.
Oh, he's a great guy.
He named his daughter Lane.
Oh, did he? Wow. Present day.
Present
time. I use that joke today, and nobody around me watches this stuff, and so it was lost on them.
Yeah, I had every time I see present day, I fill that one in. But it's weird because you'll be on Facebook and you'll say, Lane went to junior high school today. It's like, what? It definitely. I think Lane was more this has to be out there. We have to keep on selling this thing, and it needs to exist. But again, it might be that that some of these shows are just worth putting out at a lower price point. If you can get it out cheap.
The funny thing is, and back in the early days of peer-to-peer file sharing, I saw somebody had Serial Experiments Lane. I had no idea what it was. I wanted to find out, so I got it, and I loved it. But I had no idea where to get it at that point. So years later, when I saw it, I jumped on it. So I think, in some respect, there is a place for file sharing.
Sure.
And our culture moving to digital-based communications means that I'm sharing with friends that are so much further away.
Yeah.
And since I enjoy the anime, I invested in it. So piracy sometimes. I've always wanted to try and keep people from killing the goose that lays the golden egg, because animators got to eat. But at the same time, it's great that it gets out there. And recently, I revisited an old audio book that I had of Neuromancer.
Oh, nice.
And there was a discussion about medical modifications to people's body parts, and it was done in the dark medical practice district that was left away from the law to do their own practices, and it cultivated the technology without the influence of the law. So there was like a little bit of a gray area there that actually incubated the technology to be brought out to the public. And
without FDA oversight, it goes real quick, but
the side effects are
pretty nasty.
Not so good. So just the idea of an incubator is kind of nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and as a lot of us have said in the past, if I could pay, $1 per episode of a torrent, this is a button, I'd do that.
Yeah.
The lots of ways I'd be willing to pay for this stuff. It's often, when you want to see a show and it's on a torrent site and you can download it in 5 minutes and it's there, that's how you're going to watch it. It's very easy.
And that's one thing where Crunchyroll has come in as an interesting. Now they changed their format over the years, haven't they?
They started as a pirate site, so they were streaming fan subs, and then there was a crackdown on that, and they basically went to the various Japanese companies and said, we want to go legit. Wow. And and they I
was a gangster, then I went legit.
I'm shocked they were able to do it, but they did, and they basically started basically licensing stuff just for streaming directly to Crunchyroll. They had the advantage that they had a lot of the content already, and they could basically go and say, look, license it to us. We already have the advertising system set up. Everything's ready to go. It's just a matter of getting the contracts in place. And once they could do that, I'm assuming there was somebody somewhere behind the scenes who knew the right people at the right time. And that if that hadn't happened, it would have all fallen apart. But it's interesting. Zero points out, one of the tough things about the licensed anime is those extra pieces of merchandise and how to get them. One of the tough things too is that a lot of that extra merchandise was like only made for the Japanese release, so you have to remake it, or somehow.
We don't have the die that casts that anymore.
Exactly, or you have to find 3,000 of them out there in a warehouse somewhere. But it's tough. Nisa does it well for games. I love getting materials. The Haruhi Suzumiya box sets had all sorts of great stuff from that show, and the headbands. And unfortunately, it comes with the Club's Brigade armband, which is red with black letters, and it's exactly what it is from the show, but you wear it in public here. You're part of the SS. And it's like, no, I'm not going to wear that.
Things that could be misinterpreted.
Exactly. Yeah. But you find also the Zeta Gundam box set famously came with like 15 figurines of all the mecha in the show. Plus all the then they're small, but geez,
that's incredible.
Yeah,
I like those little bonuses there.
I'll take it. And to that point, I think we talked about this before, that I think a lot of those box sets are aimed for those fans who can't afford it and are willing to spend the money. And it's definitely gonna be more profitable to make a $200 box set.
Now, so far with this show, Yamada's first time, I don't see merchandising as a possibility yet.
Yeah.
Except for the game, and you called it something different. You called it a novel, a visual novel.
Yes. So, and that's the term, and I mean, it's as we were talking about earlier with language. There are lots of different terms for it. Visual novels is one of the more popular ones, and visual novel is what's used to describe those kind of choose your own adventure sort of stories. But there are a lot of those. There's lots of evolution. Steins Gate, the recent anime series, was originally a visual novel, and that's more of. I mean, there's.
It started out as a visual novel.
Started out as a visual novel. Yes.
Became a...
Yes, and that's very popular. There are a lot of anime that started out as visual novels, and a lot of them started out as again these dating sims. Steins Gate was a science fiction story. They said, no, we're not going to do any of those, romantic plots. There's not going to be any sex scenes, any of that stuff. It's just going to be straight a science fiction story.
Let's see.
Yes, Horrible Subs does just rip things straight from legal streaming sites, unfortunately. That's kind of their deal, which is not really what you... It's not really the spirit of fan subbing. I don't know about that.
Do we have any fan subbers in our audience?
That's a good question.
Anybody use any tools for doing lower thirds?
Yeah, yeah.
What tools do you use?
Exactly. I'm very interested.
What was the one that we used recently?
I can pull it up here. Look at all my apps.
MKV something or other.
Yeah.
I have so many different apps in my head that I can't.
I can't remember it.
As it gets later in the evening, my memory starts to go.
Sometimes 2:30 in the afternoon, my brain is going.
But
there's a lot of that software out there which you can do a lot of stuff. And I mean that's a very vital part of otakudom and fandom in general, is that sort of transformation of works, of taking something and transforming it into something that is more than it was before, if you will. I've just been reading an article about the doujinshi, the fan comics, and how originally most doujinshi were either original stories with original characters, or they were telling, they were using their parodies to actually comment on the original work.
Oh wow!
So they were rewriting characters, redoing things to show how silly something was, to show how ironic something was,
parodying or
exactly,
social commentary or
absolutely. And it was much more thoughtful thing, if you will, than it was today. And one of the reasons why doujinshi are considered so important.
You got it.
Yep, Aegis Sub.
You nailed it.
That's the one.
NKV Toolniks.
Interesting.
That sounds like a neat one.
I'll have to look for that one.
Check that out.
Nice. Yeah, we all have this project that we started way back when, and never quite finished up. That is the way. Yeah, the fancy typesetting. I'm glad it's there, but there are times when I'm watching a fan sub and there's text dancing all over in 20 different colors, and you know.
Sometimes the simple stuff is the best. It's always. Is my audience going to be able to take all this in, or do I want them to take it all in or be overwhelmed by it?
Right, that's true. Yeah.
I remember one Crayon Shin-chan episode where, and this was one that was appearing, I think, on Adult Swim, or one of the releases here in the US. The US translators had so many little inscriptions on stones that were all over a floor. And they just wrote, "There's no way we can translate this. Forget about it." I mean, they just wrote that right into it. We're not translating that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
because if they did, every stone would be replaced with a paragraph, trying to explain what it was. Or
there's a series of Bakemonogatari, and then another. It's sort of a franchise which I'll have Monogatari at the end, and famous for just throwing walls of text at you, where a character will be talking and suddenly they will cut literally half a second of just text on the screen and then cut away to something else.
Rewind.
Right,
What was that?
And it is like going somewhere. It is, it means something. It's like, oh, I can't. I'm not going to be able to handle this. Yeah, it's there's a lot of that out there.
It's kind of interesting when you see somebody who does different colors for different voices.
Yeah,
a guy and a girl. A guy appears in blue, and the girl appears in pink, or it's white with pink background or blue background. Those are kind of neat.
Yeah, it can be very useful for a lot of those shows where you got a lot of different characters. They were saying back on Boogie Pop Phantom, they were having a hell of a time with it because they chose in the original series that when a character was talking in their own head, there's no echo. It's just like normal voice.
Well, how do you know?
You don't.
It's like Stewie. Is anybody listening? It's Stewie on Family Guy.
Exactly. And apparently that was intentional. Like they like the ambiguity. Yeah. And it was that kind of show. But
W whale woman.
Now Stewie.
Yeah. Redbubble. Interesting. I haven't checked out Redbubble. I've heard of it, I think. I generally go to Robert's Anime Corner Store or Right Stuff. Right Stuff's the kind of big one. Yeah. Love them. Lots of stuff out there. One of the problems too is sorting out the pirate stuff from the legit stuff. There's a lot of Hong Kong merchandise out there, unfortunately. So it's hard to find. And of course, sometimes it's a Hong Kong bootleg, only so much you can do. But you try to support the original artist as much as you can.
Yeah.
Cool.
So next episode.
Next episode, we will be looking at the 4th episodes of Tenchi OVA 1 and Yamada's first time. So we're now halfway through Tenchi OVA 1. So we're going to start accelerating into the plot.
And let's see, the title for Yamada's first time, episode 4.
Yes.
Romantic Christmas Eve.
Ooh.
What does the first kiss taste like?
Ooh.
Whoa. I can't go back empty-handed, and let's go to the makeout park.
Oh.
They have really long titles for
They
the
do, yeah.
episodes. I mean, that's quite a bit to read.
I assume that's all the different little segments.
They're different.
Yeah. And in Tenchi, it's Mihoshi falls from the sky, which those of you who've seen Tenchi know what that means.
Mihoshi.
It is also, and this is a good point to point this out, it is the first bathhouse scene in anime ever.
An anime ever?
Yes, this was the launch of the bathhouse scene concept.
Now,
if you will,
coming
in
from a
anime.
historian of anime like yourself, that's impressive.
Yeah,
Wow, that's I can.
Well, and so to go a little bit more inside baseball, there was an earlier series from this called Bubblegum Crisis, which was this sort of cyberpunk story. A lot of fun, very interesting. And one of the original ideas for Tenchi, well, Bubblegum Crisis is about 4 women who all put on powered armor and fight androids. And it's basically the 4 of them, and then a boy who is the brother of one of the girls. And the creators of Tenchi Muyo were one day sort of sitting around, shooting the breeze, and they said, what would happen if all 4 of those girls and the boy all went to a hot springs together? Wouldn't that be hilarious? And they were all just sort of lounging around, talking to each other. And that was one of the initial inspirations for Tenchi Muyo of, okay, what would those characters be like? How would that interactions be like? And so, Tenchi Muyo has this bathhouse scene as this sort of exploration of, okay, here's a perfect way to put naked characters together in a situation that's not, intentionally sexual, and see how it goes, and sort of throw characters off each other.
Now, the public bathhouse is a more common theme in Asia as a real existing thing.
Sure.
But here in the States, I think the most common bathhouse is if you go to the pool, you have a shower in the locker room or locker rooms. But the bathhouse, the common bathhouse, just for hot springs, I can see sort of a sauna scenario. But
well, and the sauna, of course, is the sauna aspect was where it all started. This idea that you could go and relax in a nice hot environment, but then as Japanese people realize the health aspects,
no anime is complete without a bath scene.
Exactly. It seems that way, doesn't it?
Even if it's just in passing at the end, the characters narrating what's coming up next as they're sitting in the hot tub. Gotta have it.
I thought there's one in Gundam actually. I was like, really? But yeah, the public baths started as this idea that, well, let's get clean frequently, and so if there's a public place, you can go and do that.
The idea of showering before you get into the tub too. That's,
and again, that goes back to those hot springs where you got that single communal hot thing. You don't want to get that contaminated by your dirty body. Yeah, that's the other thing about Japanese bathhouses is, well, A, they're all gender segregated. Well, they're mostly gender segregated now. And B, they're not that popular among the young ones. Spoiler.
Oh yeah.
Well, that could well be. Although Jiraians have as we've seen, has a very different view of age than we do. It's rather unusual. Cool. All right. I think that will do it for us for this week.
Please join us.
Exactly.
Next episode.
Yes, we'll be back with more Tenchi as the plot of that heats up, so to speak, with the bathhouse, and we see more Yamada, and maybe their relationship's going to advance a little bit. Yeah, they've definitely been moving up a little bit. Yes. So we'll see. So
I suspect a kiss, maybe.
Maybe. I hope so. Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, and join us next episode.
Yes.